Hey, it's Eugene Driscoll. Welcome to Navel Gazing, the Valley Indy podcast. Listen, it's about 8:30 in the evening, Tuesday, January 22nd, and I just got back from Twisted Vine, Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, where Mayor Rich Zeke was guest bartending for the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley. Zeke raised about $460 approximately for the Boys and Girls Club. It was a really cool event, so I did a bunch of interviews, which if you hang on, you'll hear. But before I begin, before the tape rolls, I just wanted to give some stats from the Boys and Girls Club, because a lot of this I had no idea, which is one of the reasons I love doing these podcasts, because every week I learn. Anyway, 69% of the population served by the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley are ages 12 and younger. They have 4 sites, 2 in Shelton, 1 in Ansonia, 1 in Seymour. They serve just under 3,000 young people a year. About 470 kids are at the Boys and Girls Club every day. 55% qualify for free or reduced lunch at their school. 65% live in single-parent households. 4% live with someone other than their mother or father. So just those stats alone give you a sense of the good that organization does in the community. So I was happy to interview them and to talk about everything Boys and Girls Club. So please give a listen. If you want to find out more about the Boys and Girls Club online, go to www.bgc-lnv.org. All right, on with the podcast. This podcast is sponsored by valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what mattered to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org.
Hundreds of years we brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding, TV sucking ideas from our head, public discourse, just about dead, we'll ride the dinosaur.
Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to Navel Gazing. My name is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. This is a very special Navel Gazing. We're doing it live, like that famous meme. I am at Twisted Vine Restaurant in Main Street on Derby, where Derby Mayor Richard Zeke is the guest bartender to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley. Joining me, now this is actually my third time at Twisted Vine. I went once for Valentine's Day a couple of years back. Then I came down to this part, and there was like a bridal party going on. And beautiful me walks in. It was kind of awkward, but they didn't throw me out. You guys are really good to me. Is the
Not
owner?
Yet.
Right? Yeah, we'll see what happens by the end of the night. And that voice you just heard is the owner. Mike, what's your last name? I didn't ask your last name.
My last name is Pacone.
Mike Pacone. And you're very well known in the Valley. You're the owner here at Twisted Vine, and then you're one of the principals in the original, what's the other restaurant?
We have a restaurant in the old Danny O's on River Road called Hook, Line, and Sinker. Opened up about a year ago.
Oh, I didn't realize it had changed names. That's how ignorant I am. Okay,
Yep.
How are things going over there?
Doing quite well.
And then Twisted Vine here, this is a totally unique location. First of all, how did you, or how often do you do sort of charity events like this here at Twisted Vine?
We're pretty innovative, and we try to be innovative with downtown Derby. We've been here for 13 years, and I try to do a lot of different special things, one being fundraisers. I've done them for St. Joe's Grammar School when it was around a couple years back. The Boys and Girls Club, I'm actually a Boy of the Year from 1973 in Bridgeport.
Oh, no
believe
kidding.
it or not. Orchid Boys Club back in the day.
Wow, you look better than I do. You're in
Well,
good shape
thanks.
there, Mike. Wow. Go ahead. I rudely interrupted with a bad
at
joke.
the Vine, we do everything from a psychic medium once in a while. We have Matt Frazier visit us. He does a Messages from Heaven event, and he comes a couple times a year. Every time he comes, it sells out. We do entertainment on the weekends. We do a lot of private events with birthday parties, rehearsal dinners, we've done a lot of Derby class reunions through the years.
One thing that's reporters are never supposed to use the word unique, but this is a unique place. I mean, this was...
It's an old bank building, yes.
Goes back to, 1892 or so?
1892, yes.
It was the Birmingham Bank, right?
Birmingham National Bank, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so 13 years ago, I didn't realize it was that recent, but what made you look at this location? This was obviously then, after the bank, it was the old Birmingham by the Moscato family for a long
Leo
time.
Moscato opened up as a restaurant.
Who just
originally,
passed away,
unfortunately.
Yeah,
just opened up,
condolences.
I believe it was the late 70s, early 80s as the old Birmingham restaurant. And then it became a restaurant for about a year. I think it was called Emilio Di Puglio. And then it became Tartaglia's.
Okay.
And Karen Tartaglia ran it with her husband, Joe. And I knew Joe, and we had heard that Karen was selling it, and it all happened by accident.
And what was it about
13 years ago?
This location? I mean, right now we're in the basement. I guess you could call it a basement. What was this when it was a bank? What was this part of it?
Well, this was the downstairs storage area. Right behind us was the coin vault.
Okay.
And the original bank vault's upstairs. I actually give tours of the building all the time.
It's beautiful. I mean, this
because
is like...
when you see the restaurant in the main dining room, that's really not the whole building. The building's quite large. The original bank ceiling's up there in the attic. It takes about 25 minutes to go through the building.
Oh, no
It's pretty
kidding.
neat.
And then why did you decide to open up Twisted Vine here? And what was the original concept of the restaurant, and has it changed at all over the years? I'm talking like I'm Gordon Ramsay, I know what I'm talking about.
The core is pretty much the same.
Because this is classic and timeless, right? I mean,
yes,
yeah.
yep. When Leo first got it, he did do a lot of renovation, and some of the components of the building are still original. We have the original bank vault upstairs, as I mentioned, the coin vault behind me. And some of the windows are original. It's really a unique spot. And the food's good, too.
Well, that's got to be important, right? I had the lemon chicken. It was delicious years ago. But, this Connecticut Post just did an article. I was briefly talking about this before we went live here. And the Sherman's Tap House, a bar restaurant down the road.
Down the street, just closed.
Unfortunately, came and went in about a year. And then Bar None, that used to be Connie's up the way. More bar restaurant, but I thought they were primarily bars. So the Post did this article saying there's almost nothing in downtown Derby. What's the key to surviving here? And do you agree that there's almost nothing? I mean,
well, we do have a pretty good loyal customer. Customer base, loyal customer base. It's a unique building that adds to the charm of the area. As I mentioned, the food's really good. And we get a lot of support from the local businesses in Derby. We do a lot with the senior center. We do a lot with Team Next Door. We try to help out as much as we can, and they help us out as well. A real loyal following from our customers from the Valley area: Shelton, Seymour, Oxford, Derby.
And I've heard from other business owners who've managed to make it a go here that's really a key, is that sort of community involvement component. You
Helps,
can't just
absolutely.
You can't just open the doors and expect people to come.
Absolutely, and I've been trying to do that more and more, and we do get a lot of support from Mayor Zeke, and no doubt about it.
And then just totally changing gears here, though, but I'm surprised my electronics, they're working so far. Nothing's tried to swallow my soul in here because I saw a New Haven Register article from about, 2010 or so, or 2012. Haunted, maybe.
Absolutely.
Is it all right, so it's okay.
Absolutely.
So what's some of the creepy stuff you've seen at Twisted Vine?
I've been in here a lot of times on my own at night or on the weekends, and I always get the eerie feeling of somebody being with me. And I've heard voices here, doors closing. We've actually had some entertainment here, and you can actually, just feel a presence. And people have seen things, heard things. We've had some customers leave because they felt the presence.
Were they just trying to skip out on a meal though without paying?
Not,
Okay,
not at
all
all.
right.
Not at all.
Because they just got sort of. I guess
Not at all.
because I'm never I'm one of those cynical guys. I don't believe in anything. But I guess if maybe you're sort of more sensitive to that type of stuff, this is a place to come to. So do you do anything like at Halloween with? Do tours kick up at that time or
absolutely.
anything like that?
We'll put something on our Facebook page, and we do have people. I must have taken 300 people through this building last year.
Wow.
It's nice to see. It's got great architecture, and it does have an eerie feeling about it. And I actually one Sunday I was here for about 20 minutes to get the timesheets or paperwork, and I had my little dog with me, and he whimpered the entire time he was in here.
The dog wanted no part
Brought
of
him
this place.
outside, brought him back in again. He started whimpering again.
Do the ghosts ever try to cook meals or anything like that? Can you
Not
get
that
some cheap labor
we
out of them?
haven't
or
seen anything missing yet.
Not at all. And then what were some of the results of the paranormal investigators you've had in here over the years? You had Above the Realm, you were saying?
If you go Above the Realm on YouTube, they actually have recordings of what they captured here and actually the old Opera House down the street.
Oh, no kidding.
Absolutely.
And so what's some of the stuff that...
Voices. You can hear people talking.
What do they say? Is it like discernible?
I don't recall. It's Above the Realm, and they're just people talking. They can pick it up.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for first allowing me to come. I sent you a message through
the
Facebook.
pleasure was ours.
You just immediately got back to me, which I really appreciate, and thank you for all you do to the community.
Well, thank you so much, and we have a great motto. Once you dine at the Vine, you'll be back.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
It's another quiet, tranquil day in Derby.
Oh no, not Chainsaw Chuck again.
This Snow Sticker's gotta go! There's still room to negotiate! These prices are too high!
I don't think it's the prices that are too high.
I'll cut him up like the steak I had for lunch!
He's out to lunch permanently.
I've calmed down now. I'll cut till we negotiate the right price.
Dworkin Chevrolet, Seymour Avenue, Derby.
All right, hey, this is Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org. We're back with a live sort of navel gazing, and I'm yelling into the microphone. We're at Twisted Vine on Main Street in Derby. It's a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley, and I'm here with Shay Roscoe. Shay, what's your title officially at the Boys and Girls Club of the Naugatuck Valley?
I am the executive director.
Nice. And then I've already forgotten your first name because I'm
Fred.
Fred. Hello, Fred. How are you? Welcome.
Doing well, Gene.
Sarah.
Sarah.
Like Matt Serra, the UFC fighter.
Yes.
Do you
My
have
brother,
any
yes.
UFC in your background? You look like you
No.
might have UFC.
Boxer, but that's about it.
You were a boxer.
Not UFC.
Not UFC, okay. At the Boys and Girls Club, you were a boxer.
Yeah, I'm a club kid.
Nice.
Back in the
and,
70s, Gene.
And you're the president of the board of directors.
I am, yeah.
Okay, so hold that microphone a little closer to. There you go. What does the president of the board of directors at the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley do? We've got paparazzi here. Did you just come back from Florida? You look tan and healthy.
I'm not for a couple of months.
Feeling
but,
myself getting fatter with you, too.
Yeah, no. So the president of the board oversees the operation. I work closely with Shay, and we have 38 board members. And I rally them together. We work as a team.
That's a lot
and
of
we
board
make decisions.
members.
Yeah.
And
It's a strong board.
Dominic Thomas, a Derby staple and a Valley staple, also very involved with the Boys and Girls Club. He had just said, can you imagine, he had to run out of here, but can you imagine if the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley didn't exist, or Team Inc. didn't exist, or BH Care didn't exist, how much more expensive it would be here or be in the Valley to live because of all the services provided by all those various groups. So why did you get involved with the Boys and Girls Club? And where are you from originally? And
Yes, I'm from Shelton, and I was a club kid back in the 70s. And quite simply, when schools are closed, our doors are open, and we keep the kids off the streets. I owned a company here, built a business, have employees in Shelton and the Valley, and it's a great place to run a business. And businesses that were coming in and wanting to work in a place that has great communities, and it's safe. And the club has done a great job taking these kids and keeping them busy after school.
And then what personal satisfaction do you get out of being the president of the board? Because it seems like it's kind of a thankless job. Because we're a nonprofit ourselves, the
Yes.
Valley India. So it's a lot of hard work. So why do it?
Well, it's a great question. I have 6 kids, and I look at all my success and everything that I've done in building a business, and I look back and trying to give back to the community, and I like to see young kids prosper and do well. And I was a kid who grew up with 6 siblings. We had 6 of us, and father worked 3 jobs, and
What
mom
were the
stayed
jobs?
home.
What were some of the jobs your dad worked?
Drafting, engineering, and we were home. We didn't have a lot of vacations, but we stuck together as a strong family. And at the end of the day, I went from being a regular kid to owning a business, building a large company. And if I could do it, others can do it, and I'm happy to be there to provide inspiration to others.
And then in terms of working with Shay, how long have you now been involved in the Boys and Girls Club here locally?
So I've been involved for almost 20 years. I started as an intern and never expected to stay there, thinking that I wanted to work in some kind of a department within the city. And my first internship, I worked at a summer camp, and I fell in love with the kids that were there.
Where was that?
That was in the Shelton location.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So how's she doing now? How long have you been the executive director? Is that the?
I've been there since 2013.
How's she doing?
Fantastic. I look at it based on the outcome. We are noted for one of the top clubs in the country, and our results prove that we're making a difference. And that's all you need to know. What are the outcomes? And everybody really loves Shay and the work that she's doing, and very well known in the Valley for the work that she's doing. Very proud of her.
And then, Shay, in terms of outcomes, what are some of the examples of things that you can sort of hang your hat on at the Boys and Girls Club?
So some of the outcomes that we focus on, we have 3 core areas at the Boys and Girls Club. One is academic success, one is character and leadership, and the other one is healthy lifestyles. And what we do in the club is to provide activities and programs that are based around those 3 core areas to help really leverage children who don't come from a whole lot, to make them successful in life in some sort of way, to help them achieve a higher education, and then hopefully build a successful life for themselves. And we do it with our staff, and our biggest heart of the club is our staff. And so we put a lot of training into our staff to make sure that they will be able to mentor and guide the children that need us the most, to help them become the most successful they can. So the mentorship that goes on, the big brother and big sister kind of mentality of helping this kid succeed, is one of the best things that we can do. 65% of our kids and of our membership come from a single family household, which is difficult. So when we get them after school, the first thing we want them to do is do their homework, because it's important for them to do their homework, but it's important for them to succeed in school. And when the parents are picking them up after 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock at night, it's very difficult to get them home, feed them dinner, and get their homework done, right? And I can tell you, as a parent of a child who goes to the Boys and Girls Club, some of the homework is very difficult. So So when I get to my second grader, I say this all the time, I help him with his math sometimes, and I tell him often that, second grade is as far as I can take him, because the Common Core that sets in 3rd grade, I'm not used to. I don't have a great understanding of it. But we have mentors that come in and help them achieve those math skills and achieve the skills that they need to do that are beyond something that maybe we have done in our past.
That's fascinating, because I have a 3rd grader, and we're doing his math homework, and I'm getting it wrong. And he's like, Daddy, I don't like this. And I was just thinking, like, all right, I'm going to have to get a tutor. Where do I get a tutor? I can't afford to go get a tutor. I'm a reporter, for God's sakes. But I didn't realize the Boys and Girls Club could actually get involved with things like that.
So one of the greatest things is that we're very close with a lot of the Board of Educations that in the towns that we are in. So for Shelton, for example, they require their students to perform 10 hours of community service. A lot of those students will come down to the Boys and Girls Club and provide those hours of community service, and we'll match them up with children who are struggling in some of their work. And they'll get that one-on-one tutoring and support that they need the parents get what they need because they really need their children to do their homework, and then the students feel very confident in going into the school the next day knowing that they have accomplished the work that they needed to accomplish.
And then let me ask you about money, right? Because the Boys and Girls Club is one of the best known entities in the U.S., I'd say. I don't know if people realize anymore it's a nonprofit and it relies on donations and things like this and community support. It's kind of thought of as just Walmart. It's just something that's there and I don't have to worry about it. But is it getting tougher to raise money in this like GoFundMe age, and we all sort of just give our money or donate to whatever we see on our Facebook feed? Are people forgetting about these traditional bigger organizations that really do a ton in the community, such as the United Way or the Boys and Girls Club?
I could speak to that. I've run our largest fundraiser, which is Back a Kid, and I'm running it again this year. And what's happening is with the crunch in Connecticut, as everyone's fighting for the same dollar. So you've got a lot of the nonprofits that are hurting. They're looking, for more funding. And the problem is that there are only so many hands that are handing out the money. So every year we have to reinforce our mission. And honestly, we put a game plan together. It starts with our board. 100% of our board participates. We have 100% financial participation from them. I'm very proud of them. 3 years in a row. So when we go out to companies or individuals.
Now, when you say financial participation for them, just for idiots like me, because a big part of the board's job is to raise money for the organization. Is that what you're talking about?
It is. But it starts with the board putting up their own money. So when I go out to a company and say, can you give me money? A lot of them will say, well, what does your board do? And we say 100% of our board members donate money. And we're not talking small amounts of money. It's meaningful contributions. And they do it over and over again, so we're really proud of them. And it all starts, that's the foundation, getting a strong board that's committed to give funds, and then going out to the community and saying, look at what we're doing and how we're changing the world. And again, going back to the outcomes, we're showing a positive outcome. We're showing that these kids, we're changing lives. And it makes it a little bit easier. Nobody likes asking for money.
Right.
We never do. But we're not. It's for the kids.
Is it tougher now to get in the door with, say, corporations nowadays to actually get to the person that can write a check or even on the phone to talk about your organization?
We have strong grassroots. So in the community, there's a lot of businesses and there's a lot of individuals that we all reach out to. So our board is pretty strong, and we go out to the people that we know. And if we're trying to get into a particular organization, somebody will know somebody or knows somebody, and we get the interview. We sit down, and what we really do, and Shay can talk about this a little bit, we do tours. Because once you take the tour, you understand. See, I was a board member years ago. I was a club kid. I saw it from a club kid perspective, a little different. And I became a board member, and I saw it a little different. But it wasn't until I got into the executive roles where I actually saw what went on every single day. And I started getting into all of these different parts of the club and looking at financials and looking at donations and looking at other leadership. Then you start seeing what happens, and then you start meeting these kids one-on-one, and you see the difference. And you watch them grow and what they've become, and what they started with and what they become. That changes a person. It changed my life.
And then, Shay, talking specifically about where we're at Twisted Vine in downtown Derby on Main Street, Derby. And Mayor Zeke is guest bartending, and a percentage of his tips and a percentage of meals that people are eating and bills and whatnot are going towards the Boys and Girls Club. How do things like this help? And is there anything you wanted to say about Mayor Zeke and what he's doing here?
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So a night like this is tremendous. So it brings a lot of people together, it brings the community together, and it brings both the businesses and the nonprofits together as well. So if you can bring some business to a business per se and the community, that's a great thing for them. We want to keep them thriving and keep them living, because the businesses then in return help nonprofits like us. So what Mayor Zeke has been doing in his term right now has been doing that. He's been connecting the nonprofits and businesses to help both of them, bringing both together who can use a little lift, especially during times or during nights that maybe it's not as busy or it's not as fruitful for them. And so I appreciate that he's doing that. And Mayor Zeke in himself has been a huge supporter of the nonprofits in the Valley, not only the Boys and Girls Club, but all of us, and providing some spotlight for us to help others, encouraging them to support us in ways that they can. And he and the town of Derby support us tremendously, and it's been incredible for us. And we hope to continue that relationship and keep forging forward to help the businesses that we are here with and the nonprofits that we're working with.
Okay. Now, is there anything else that I should be asking? Because, I'm a reporter, but I don't know the first thing about what you want to stress about the Boys and Girls Club. Anything else you two might want to add before I throw it out to this people? There's an audience here. This is totally different for me. Usually I'm in my office at Main Street. We don't even have windows.
I do. I want to thank you. I think it's great that you are here with us tonight and supporting the Boys and Girls Club and the Twisted Vine, because it's an incredible event and we're appreciative to it, because everything that anybody does for the Boys and Girls Club helps. And if you can just help one child, you're making a difference in the community. And the 3 core areas that I explained earlier, a few of them we've talked a little bit about education, and then there's the healthy lifestyles, but the character and leadership is something that I want to say a little something about, is that we try to create our members to grow up to give back into the community themselves. So they have to do community service projects, they have to do Boys and Girls Club service projects to teach them that the importance of giving back. And I think that if we continue to do that and we continue to help our young ones grow into young leaders who give back into the community, we'll continue to have the Valley as what we are. I think we are one incredible united community that helps each other, and I want to hope, my hope is that we continue to do that.
Hey, this is Eugene, most likely interrupting myself to bring you a word from our sponsor, valleygivesback.org. What will you be remembered for? Name a Valley nonprofit in your estate plan and create a legacy that tells future generations what matter to you. Making a gift that costs nothing during your lifetime is easy and revocable if things change. With a planned gift, you have the power to impact the Valley forever without affecting your current lifestyle. Your action inspires others to make a difference in their own way. Remember the Valley. Ask your accountant, financial planner, or attorney about planned giving options. Plan now. Give later. Impact tomorrow. Learn more at valleygivesback.org. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Say something into yours. Counter something. Say something. Can you
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test.
All right. Yeah, that's
test.
Good.
We good?
Yeah, we are good.
Sounds
all right.
good.
So, all right, I'm back. This is Eugene Driscoll again. No one else has taken over, and there's no one left to take over. But I'm at Twisted Vine, where Derby Mayor Rich Zeke is guest bartending for the Boys and Girls Club of Lower Naugatuck Valley. And we just had Mike, the owner of Twisted Vine, and now we're talking to Drew Backlick, Mayor Zekin's chief of staff. Injured.
Yes, I'm on IR with a torn Achilles, but I'm getting better day by day.
So you tore your Achilles tendon, and this is not the first time you've torn your Achilles.
Well, I did. This is the first time I've torn the right one. I tore the left one 10 years ago playing basketball. I tore this one at the brand new pickleball facility up in Oxford, which is great fun.
All right, let me just ask you a question here.
What is pickleball?
What is pickleball?
Pickleball is essentially tennis, but with a graphite paddle and a hard gauge plastic ball. It's like ping pong on a court. So it's really like a cult following it has in Derby through our gym classes. And when they opened this new facility.
What gym classes?
Gym classes, Derby High School Gym. Derby High School Gym, once a year you have pickleball comes around. We all get very excited. So this new facility opened up at Oxford, and they do pickleball there. And we all wanted to patronize the place, and I went and got hurt.
Yeah, what was the exact motion? Can you take us through your pain?
Yes, I was playing with my...
Because I hear it hurts.
Yeah, it does. It's painful. So I was playing pickleball with my best friend, Mark Tilke, who's been my best friend for a long time. We both were kind of Valley football players. And
back when you weren't...
Back when I was in my Al Bundy days.
Okay.
And Mark and I both still think we're 16, so he hit a ball that I probably shouldn't have got to, but I'm still quick enough to get to it. Problem is, once I got there, I didn't get back from that.
So you were like extending yourself to catch a fly ball?
No,
or
you're going back to
this?
hit it with a paddle, which I hit it back over the net. Then I changed direction to come back towards the net, and my Achilles popped. And
did you know when
I knew
it
instantly.
happened?
Yeah, I knew instantly.
Like, what's it feel like, dude?
It feels like a rubber band snapping behind your leg. Behind your leg. I actually thought my partner, who was a younger female, stepped on the back of my leg, and then I realized instantly when I looked and she was about 20 feet away from me what I had done. Because unfortunately, I
There's
did
a
it
weird
before.
pressure then.
Yeah,
to
it's
it.
just literally a snap, like a rubber band.
So then basically you're immobile at that point, right?
Immobile, yeah. I got brought.
You can't put any weight. I mean, your leg is gone.
You can put weight on it. You don't feel a ton of pain. Everything pre-surgery, it's not too bad. It's basically your leg is dead. You have no feeling to your foot. You can't send any messages to
Does
your
it
toes.
swell up or anything?
It does. It swells
This might
up.
be This might be the weirdest
podcast
yeah,
beginning.
but whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
considering what
fascinated
we're
by
about
that.
to talk about.
Yeah.
But people need to know about Achilles tendon. So essentially, you can't send any messages to your foot. So I couldn't go up and down stairs. Couldn't propel off of it at all. About a week later, I had surgery. You're in a cast for a couple weeks.
And
now
what's
I'm
the
into
surgery?
a-
They open up your leg and
They open up your leg and they reattach it somehow. I've been told not to Google the procedure because it's disgusting, so I didn't. But I know I'm on the mend, and I'm walking with crutches. Soon to be walking with just the boot in a couple weeks, and before I know it, I'll be back to normal. But no more pickleball, and no more football, and no more anything.
Yeah, what does the doctor tell you long term? Is this like an injury that you can re-hurt? Is that the word?
They say once you tear your Achilles tendon and they do the surgery, that tendon is actually stronger than it was pre-surgery.
Oh, so now you're going pro. This was some weird plan to go
in terms of
pro.
a prognosis, I know, like if you look at Eric Berry from the Chiefs did this, he was a year out from playing NFL football again. So if I wanted to really get back to full swing, I probably could, but I'm content with playing darts and some setback. I'm done with any hard motion sports.
And you've
That's
also
it.
got this thing that I've never seen before. It's like your leg is essentially on a cart. You put
I have a
leg
wheeled around
back.
scooter for City Hall.
Yes, is that kind of fun?
It's
or-
a lot of fun. I scoot around City Hall faster than ever, but because if you know me, I don't sit at my desk very often, so I needed a way to be ambulatory.
Yeah,
in
you're
City Hall.
you're
kind of a high energy guy.
Yeah, I was
a
going to
little
say
bit hyper.
but
Some would
yeah.
say. So I do scoot around and try not to run anybody over in the process.
Now, do you get to keep the scooter, or is it got to go back to the
scooter
medical
actually,
facility?
I'm borrowing from our city attorney. Ironically enough, he's not an injury attorney, but he happened to have one.
He just happened to have one of these
he
lying
had a
around.
Similar
What's
injury,
going on with you
Similar
guys?
injury a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, he was the last Board of Alderman meeting. He was there with a pack of ice. I didn't even want to ask.
He
what
had
was
double
going
hernia
on.
surgery, so we're like walking wounded in Derby, but our brains still work. That's
What did
all
he
that
have?
really
The
matters.
surgery like right before the Alderman's meeting? Was a tax
2 days
incentive?
before, so I give him a lot
the
of
tax
credit.
incentive issue is that important. He showed up.
He showed up with
for
an ice
that.
pack on his stomach. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's nice to see
Shout
that.
out to Vin Marino for the dedication.
Nice to hear that you guys are recovering. But I wanted to ask you about a couple of things. You had mentioned we did a story, and the mayor gave his State of the City address about a week ago, and I think that was the first time a Derby mayor has given a State of the City that I remember, unless I'm missing something. At least it's in the last 10 years.
I think Mayor Naugatuck had done a 100 days
so
update, but I don't think anybody's done kind of a State of the City the way that we did it. Certainly, we took some heat for doing it during the day, so I appreciate you live streaming it because I know people had access to it that way. But we took some heat because it should be a big political thing and it should be in the auditorium and everything else.
I'm going to complain about something.
Sure.
I don't like the fact that these meetings are becoming like 6 o'clock. Something like, how am I supposed to get there at 6 o'clock?
Right.
7 o'clock.
Okay. Well,
All right, for me.
Unfortunately,
Then I won't show up.
the chairs of each board determine.
Are they city official? Are they city employees? Are they municipal
a lot
employees?
of them are volunteers.
I start to get angry. I'm like, this is for the municipal
Yeah.
employees. What about the public? What about John Q. Public?
Exactly, and I agree. But the volunteers who actually are the public, so some of the aldermen, for instance,
Elected
they'll choose-
officials, volunteers, but they're
yes, but not being paid. Right.
But actually, that's nothing what I wanted to ask you about. You had said at the beginning, you had introduced the mayor, and you had talked about, well, one thing that happens in Derby, and it happens everywhere, of course, is that there's a lot of rumors. You hear rumors all the time.
Yeah.
And one thing you thought was okay, or you and the mayor thought, here, mayor gets up there and talks about. It was almost literally everything that's been. It was 4 pages.
Bulleted punch list. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what is? I mean, without being libelous, or actually, this would be slanderous because it's the spoken word. What's the craziest rumor that you can share with us that you've encountered over and over again in the first year and however many months?
Well, I think
Mayor Zeke's been off.
Here's a hot button issue right now: is the water tank, for instance. So we had a task force meeting of all the city department heads. And I won't say what department, but one of the department heads came in and had said that
prominent land use attorney Dominic Thomas is in the house.
Famous Dominic Thomas.
He's just looking at me. He's deciding.
We won't, not yet.
He's trying to decide whether or not to file a lawsuit against me.
So Probably it's perfectly queued up because you just did a story about the water tank going. The Regional Water Authority putting a water
Coon
tank
Hollow Road in
on
Chatfield.
Right,
okay.
exactly. So the rumor I heard that came from a constituent was, they're thinking about putting this water tank there. Don't they already know that the water pressure is so terrible on the west side? Now they're going to put this water tank there that's going to put a strain on the water.
They thought it was going to add.
They thought it was going to add to the burden, when in reality, exactly what the water tank doesn't do. The water tank is going to help the problem with the water pressure on the west side and in other areas for that matter.
Some of that's probably because I had said in a previous podcast, and RWA kind of reached out to me and said, no, dummy. I had said that the water pressure or the water system in West Derby was, I think I said unreliable. And I'm like, no, that's not the issue. But I got to say, I don't think they did a good job explaining the need over the years. Because I went back and I looked through, because I had videotaped those early meetings in 2012, and I don't think they ever clearly defined why they needed it. But if you go to that document they put online, that sort of spells it out. And so maybe there was some type of...
Well, we were an integral part of that. I think the city, we kind of understand the need for it through dealing with some... We talked directly to our emergency services kind of leadership, which would be the police chiefs and the fire marshal, the police chief, fire marshal, and the fire chiefs. And they said, absolutely. And we have actual evidence of that in sort of situations that we've been in over the years.
And the problem is that if there's a fire, like a major fire going on, a multi-alarm
Latex
fire.
Foam is a great example in Ansonia.
Okay.
They talked about that specifically the night of the public hearing, and I believe the fire chief in Ansonia had said, Chief Eamon had said, I was there that night, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure
You're being quoted. You're talking into a microphone.
I'm being quoted. Okay, so it was
Ask Dominic. You need to run this by Dominic. He said, don't quote me.
Don't quote me, but I'm being quoted. All right, so quote me. I'm confident in saying that somebody who was there fighting the fire in Ansonia, Latex Foam, had said that the same night at Griffin Hospital, they were having to wash patients off with bottled water because the pressure was that bad because they strained the system. Right. So
because right now, like the nearest tank is over, like in Woodbridge, I want to say. It's like the backup tank is nowhere it's not in the valley.
There's something in Grassy Hill. There's something. That's the funny thing too, is there's so many tanks around that you don't even realize, or that you drive by and you don't even know. So this thing will be an afterthought when it's put in and it's installed with some thoughtfulness when it comes to the aesthetics. What are the colors going to be? How many trees are around it? No one's going to even know it's there.
They're not going to be able to hide it. No. Come on, it's a 52-foot, 60-foot wide.
So we put 63-foot trees up
but
and block it.
Here's my question though. And I think this is ongoing. There's sort of an interesting deal, for a lack of a better word, happening because the land is deed restricted. It's supposed to stay as it is, or be used as a public park. According to what I've read. But the city is saying, well, or the utility company is basically going to purchase on our behalf, the city's behalf, some land on the other side of town to make up for the open space that's lost.
Trade, basically, yeah.
That was tough to get out. But I want to know, hey, I live on the west side. You're taking my open space away and giving it to some of these fancy people over on the east side.
I know you're well aware of Osbornedale State Park and how many
that doesn't count.
acres of open space.
Although now you can see why they didn't give it to Derby.
Right. Well,
you guys would put water tanks everywhere.
Well, listen, here's the funny thing, and
give me a pocket park.
I'm going to tell you this. I have a quote here that a very wise man said to me. Everybody wants to be business friendly and development friendly until it's time to be business friendly and development friendly.
Well, this is different.
But this serves a purpose. This addresses a need. Could it go 100 different places? Maybe. This is the best place when they looked at 103 different sites or whatever based on the elevation and all the other factors, and we need it. So at the end of the day, I have to quote my father, who's been in Derby, was born here, graduated in 1963 from Derby High School, born here in 1945, played all over the west side, outdoors constantly. He said no one, as far as I can remember, has ever played or walked through that portion of town for any reason, for open space
Nobody
purposes.
knew it was there.
No, it's shale, it's rock. There's nothing to do there other than look at it. So while it's great to look at, if we could utilize it for a purpose, why would we not do so? And I think the problem here in Derby over the last, at least since I've been paying attention, you have the same NIMBY people, maybe there's 5 of them, that prevent progress. And we listen to these same 5 people, and we don't want to upset the apple cart, so we let these 5 people dictate what's going to move forward and what's going to not. We can't do that anymore.
That's an interesting point, because that's what I sense with the tax incentive program, which, you can either you got to, I guess, stick to what your plan is. Actually, you just said it better than I did, but I sense some of that because I saw on our Facebook page I use the word tax break, which I know government doesn't like. They like to make the language passive, tax incentive, but it was a tax break, and I think people just react to that word.
Right.
So what's been the fallout or pushback, if any, since the Board of Aldermen voted to grant that tax incentive to AIEP?
Well, I'll say this. I think the key, some of this work that we've done in terms of cost, and I won't even say we, the committees that we appointed to do these things, they did a cost-benefit analysis to say, okay, AIEP, for instance, before their purchase of the property, that property was producing $21,000 a year in property taxes. And I know that was a reduced rate based on the prior user going for an appeal based on the vacancy of the property. Once AIEP came
I didn't know that.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
Okay.
So if there was an argument that anybody could have made against it, it would have been like, well, that was a reduced rate that they were basing it on. That's fine.
Okay.
Because guess what? At the end of the day, they are now giving $79,000 a year. That's a huge boost to the tax base. So if and when they perform this extra $500,000 worth of work, let's just say hypothetically that assessment of that property is going to bring in $90,000 a year of taxes, and that's just broad brushstrokes estimate of the number. From $21,000 to $90,000, and then we can't give the guy a 3-year, $15,000 a year break to do the construction that he needs to do, when in the long haul, if he's going to be a neighbor or a partner here, a neighbor here for the next 50 years with reval and everything else, the amount of money that place is going to produce for the tax rolls, it's not even an argument to say we should give him $47,000 over the first 3 years. Of course we should give him $47,000. And the argument was we should keep that reserved to downtown. Yeah, we know downtown needs help. Everybody knows that. But we can't cherry pick and say, oh, yeah, this area will get a tax rate, this area won't.
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to, because I didn't point this out in my article, but you can't, this isn't just Mayor Zeke snapping his fingers and say, give tax break, give tax break.
Not at all.
Because there is the assessors involved,
right,
and it has to pass through. Is there now is that subcommittee permanent? No, do they always get? Okay, it's just
that
goes
tax
through,
incentive.
They set up the process,
right?
Okay.
And now it goes through the Board of Aldermen, and they have the final say at the end of the day.
It's got to be vetted.
It's got to be vetted, and at the end of the day, this is all based on the assessed value. So you could put $7 million into a property. If it doesn't add to our assessment, to our grand list, you get nothing. So unfortunately, for some of these big box stores and things like that are coming into already box stores, they're not going to change the assessed value of that property enough to even trigger this. This is property was paying 21, now you're paying 79. That's a triggering number, and you're going to get a percentage off of your taxes. And I think we need to encourage development here. Obviously, we've been stagnant long enough. So what can we do? The first question we have from developers when they come in, and from anybody who can offer us any kind of advice, whether it be CT Main Street or DECD or any of these other big, statewide people who've been through the development process, they've said, well, what do you have in place for a tax incentive? So Carmen, myself, and
Carmen DeCenzo
was the
part-time economic development liaison.
That was the first question we were getting from everybody. Well, what are you doing to incentivize people? So when we realized nothing, we decided to do that. I saw one of the comments was, well, Calvert Safe and Lock must be upset. They should be upset because maybe previously this should have been contemplated to say, hey, you're taking the old Royale and you're fixing it up, and you're get a better use. Maybe there should have been a break in place. Can't speak to that because we were not here. I can speak to the fact that we recognize a need for that. We formed the committee, and within a couple months, there's now this tax incentive ordinance in place to give people the opportunity to at least apply for it.
Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to ask you about the reason we're here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're just listening? It's all good stuff.
Okay.
It's all good stuff.
So I thought you were throwing me out. What's your name again? You want to come here? Wait. Come on for a second.
Stella. We've got Stella from Twisted Vine.
Stella actually purchased a Valley Indie T-shirt. One of only 50 people to purchase a. Andrew didn't buy one.
I didn't. I just made a donation quietly, anonymously.
It was because when this issue that you're discussing was going on, you guys were covering, the public meetings that were going on, and people in the neighborhood had some valid concerns. I think they were concerned about maybe some noisy teenagers and stuff like that. But it was also a little bit funny, people coming in being like, well, what about the water usage? And we're going to have to, kind of coming up with sort of...
Oh, she's talking Marshall Lane. Gotcha.
Yeah, the dormitory you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Right, that's what you're talking about on Marshall Lane. That was turned into this for the high school exchange program.
Yeah, the alderman just granted a 3-year, $47,000 tax break. So we were talking, because he took some heat on the Valley Indie Facebook page, the alderman did, for doing that. Do you live in Derby or Ansonia?
Ansonia. I live in Ansonia, actually.
How do you...
Your It's Derby and Ansonia. It's, they're kind of the same town a little bit. You're always driving through both.
It's one place. That's what I think.
Yes, good point.
So I feel, yeah. I do.
How do you think Mayor Cassetti's doing over there?
I think that he has opened a lot of new businesses, and that's really nice to see. I think that the situation in Ansonia right now is maybe a little bit more polarized than in Derby, but
Tell me about it.
I don't know if I really want to go on record as saying too much one side or the other. But yeah, there's, maybe some...
But let me ask you now, as an Ansonia resident, that sort of strife that happens between specifically the Board of Ed and the City of Ansonia City Hall, how does it affect you as a resident, if it does at all? Do you think because I got all ticked off as a Derby resident when the CT Post wrote that there's almost nothing left in downtown. There's that feeling that, hey, I can pick on Derby, but you can't.
Right.
So how do you feel about some of the strife in Ansonia?
I guess I feel like people are generally really civil. The Facebook comments notwithstanding, where people kind of get a little hot-headed. I think it's been generally pretty civil.
They hate pizzerias.
They what?
They hate pizzerias.
Oh yeah, it's basically the lights on Wakely and the pizzas. That's the main issue. But it does. I do feel like more and more it seems like sort of some of the national political issues start to affect the town, which to me shouldn't really be that way. And I think how
Stella.
people are feeling nationally is sort of affecting how they feel about town stuff that really shouldn't be.
Stella, do you want a job in Derby? Because that's exactly our philosophy.
Yeah. But Andrew, I wanted to and thank you so much, Stella. Stella, what's your last name?
Sorry?
What's your last name?
I think my first name is fine.
Stella, Stella from Twisted Vine.
Stella.
She doesn't want to give her last name. I like it.
There's at least one attorney in the room if you need one. Dominic Thomas is right there if you need any advice. Or Dominic, right there, if you need. So what we're here tonight is when Mayor Zeke first took office, he said one thing he wanted to do, and that's why he's not on with me. He's working right now. Yeah, he's raising money for the Boys and Girls Club. Why do you do these things?
I think there's a lot of goodwill opportunities out there, and it's a shame that everybody wants to politicize everything. But to me, this is like an opportunity for the mayor to use his influence to be able to give back to a nonprofit here in the community. And Boys and Girls Club does a great job, and we took a meeting with some of the brass from there early on, and really to see what they do and the kind of services they provided to the kids here and to the families in the community. It was just a no-brainer here to want to be able to kick something back to them and everybody else that we've done this for the last year. The mayor I think the mayor loves these things. I think the mayor, if he's shown anything, it's that he is out there in the community, boots on the ground kind of stuff, and this is the perfect example of this. And again, we catch some heat because of the medium. Oh, you're serving alcohol. Listen, everyone here is a responsible adult. They want to contribute to this cause. They're certainly not going out for soda pop after work. So
you can buy. You don't have to buy alcohol. You can buy.
No,
food.
You can come here and have exactly. Yeah. I just ordered 3 appetizers for the table. And that's all. A portion of that is going to go back towards the Boys and Girls Club.
And I've mentioned it several times on the podcast, but there was that CT Post article that apparently made me angry, but nobody else. And then my readers turned on me on Facebook.
It happens. I see it.
Yeah, it was sad. It was like, oh man, I finally lost them after 9 years. They turned on me because I like to, you like to hold up the big media as the enemy, and I'm just a little guy, but it doesn't work anymore. But they had noted that Sherman's Tap House closed after almost exactly a year, and then Bar None up the road on Elizabeth Street closed. So what's the state of the economy in downtown Derby, Mr. Backlick?
I think everybody's relying on the administration here to create some new foot traffic, and that really hinges on development on the south side specifically. And we're working hard on that every day, and we hope to make that happen. Unfortunately for Sherman's specifically, that gentleman who owns it, Sean Sherman, great guy, was a great asset here to downtown. He lives in the northern part of the state, so when the opportunity came to move his business closer to his home, I think that was a factor. Somebody commented actually pretty cleverly on your Facebook. I don't remember exactly who it was, but they said something about all the different factors that go into running a restaurant, running a bar.
I think it was Leo Moscato Jr.
It might very well have been. Certainly he knows about it for having done that here in Derby. And, there's so many different factors to say that it's one thing. It's the neighborhood, it's this, it's the lack of development. We can't control some of the private businesses here.
Never know.
You never know. But I will say this, Sherman's There's a interested party there, and in terms of Bar None closing, there's a liquor permit pulled already there for a comedy
they're
club.
doing work on there.
They're already doing work.
Petnella, is it Gary Petnella?
It is Gary Petnella, who's a local comedian, a local family.
He's posted on his. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but on his Facebook page,
Right.
that they're doing work in there. He's renovating it with others I don't know.
And we'd love to see them succeed. And
is it a comedy club? Is that
I believe it's a comedy club / bar / restaurant.
They might offer comedy on certain nights. Or
I can't speak to exactly what they're doing, but the bottom line is there's no reason to ring the alarm, because there was somebody, as soon as one business went out, the other business was willing to come in. And, at the end of the day, if you're here when when we strike finally, when we get the downtown going, and I know people have been hearing this for 50 years, long before I was here, certainly long before the Valley Indies been here. If we could actually get that done, I mean, it'll help all the businesses around here. You want to start talking about the Opera House and some of the other things that have been vacant for a long time. Another hot button issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But if we can kind of get all these,
I was thinking about Varka in terms of if Derby kept that, would it just become an opera house where it just sort of sits there forever?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of
and that was
not that nothing's been done with the opera house,
but that was a thought, Eugene. We don't need another white elephant in this town that all the taxpayers have to pay for. Varka, when we did the cost benefit analysis again of Varka, what it was going to cost not only to keep it open, but if we were to own and operate it, particularly when we know we have the new field house coming online.
You can throw
what do you think the holding costs of a building like that are? They're substantial.
All right, let's close out on this. I got to ask you one rumor that I heard.
Oh yes, I love rumors.
It concerns the new Payton Field House.
Sure.
I had heard that Derby's talking about renting it out to semi-pro teams. Or this is just a random thing I heard on the street.
Well, I will
literally
say this,
I was walking my dog.
So through the Board of Aldermen, I think they're going to be forming a committee to talk about the maintenance of that building and the uses of that building and the staffing of that building and all things. All that's got to be contemplated. To me, personally, just from having a business mind.
Oh, wait, are you talking about you're going to open up one of the, what is that?
Pickleball. Yeah, pickleball.
Man.
We'll do pickleball in the basement.
Back to pickleball.
No, I feel like it has to generate some income. It cannot be just something that is an expense to the city. So I think I even mentioned maybe we have some of these state tournaments, CIAC. I don't know what they pay to use, the stadium in Waterbury, for instance. Maybe some of those things, based on based on how great this facility is going to be.
You're not bringing the Whalers back.
Yeah, no pro teams. But I don't know if there's going to be a men's soccer league that wants to use it on Sundays, who's going to kick in a certain amount of money. Maybe we can break even on some of the expenses by utilizing the facilities, and not necessarily the field house, but the fields for other local organizations or regional organizations who need a place to play. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least look at those options. To just use it for Pop Warner and Derby High School, at the end of the day, Derby High School enrollment right now, who knows if we can field a football team in 3 years, which is why we're looking at some of these regional options with Ansonia. Who knows? Who knows what Derby High School is about half full right now. So, we're building this great field house, and that's a phenomenal contribution by Mrs. Payton in honor of her father, and I think it's a great thing. We want to be able to utilize it to its maximum potential, and if we don't offer it to other entities, it may be too hard for us to even sustain it. So,
all right, sir. Well, I took up a lot of your time.
That was a lot of my time. I got to get back to my appetizers.
I know. Away from now, it's cold, and I probably killed Mayor Zekin's tips. I apologize, but I want to thank you for coming on and talking to me.
Always a pleasure.
I really do appreciate it.
Okay, so today right now we are headed to Books by the Falls in Derby, Connecticut. And we are going there to pick up a book, The Art of War. One of the books right now that I'm reading is, actually it's in the back seat if you want to grab it, The Way of the Wolf, Jordan Belfort. Absolutely superb.
I mean, also, this guy has a really dope bookstore. It's not like a Barnes & Noble.
Okay, Eugene Driscoll of valleyindy.org, back at Twisted Vine, where Mayor Rich Zekin is guest bartending to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club of the Lower Naugatuck Valley. And my guest is Mayor Rich Zekin.
Eugene.
Hello, Mayor Zeke.
How you doing, Eugene? Great seeing you, brother.
Can I still call you Mayor Zeke? Is that
Absolutely.
still okay?
You call me Zeke, whatever you want to call me, brother.
So, how's it going tonight? How much?
Excellent. I mean, we're jamming here. A lot of people from the city are down here. We got a lot of Boys and Girls Club people down here. Some people off the streets came down, which is great. It's a great organization. They support a lot for Derby, so I'm so happy I could do something for them.
Now, I was asking Drew Backlick, your chief of staff, earlier. There was the article recently in the Connecticut Post that noted Sherman's Tap House closed, unfortunately, after a year, and Bar None closed its doors, although it's reopening. I can see the work being done in the window there. But they had said, downtown Derby, down to nothing. What was your reaction to that? And what would you say to people who say, Derby, no, it's no progress. You can't do business there, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
not to turn it negative, but I just thought I'd ask.
No, absolutely. I want to hear this, and I want the people to hear this. It's coming up. I mean, Derby is moving forward. Bar None, they got a new group coming in there, and I just saw they were fixing it up on the inside, so that's getting started. The owner from the old Shermans came in. They were talking about downtown, what's going on. I filled them in on what we had a potential to open that place up again. So, the naysayers, they are. But, Derby's moving forward. And in my State of the City address, we're moving forward. A lot of stuff people said that we couldn't do. Hey, it took a phone call and a meeting, and we're getting stuff done. So that's all I got to tell these people.
And then in the last year or so, you took office, late December?
14 months ago. We're about 413 days into my administration.
And you launched these things, these guest bartending nights, or you appear at a place. So why do this? What do you think? Obviously you're bringing business in.
No, absolutely. Because number one, I talked to these businesses, and I was like, what's your down day? So it was like a Monday, Tuesday. So let me come down here, bring in some people that never heard of your places, and maybe, never stopped in, and, let's get something going. So they made money that night. We made money for an organization, and, you know what? People started showing up, and they're like, wow, we never been to these places before. And the first 6 places I did, we made over $7,500 for local benefit places.
It's like Team Inc. I'm trying to remember some of the other ones you've done.
For Derby City Hall, I don't know. I'm starting to lose, which is great.
Yeah, because you do a lot. Yeah, there's Tipsy Tomato. You had one. I remember that. So Archie Moore. Now you doing it monthly or?
Well, I'm trying to now, and it's like the last we were going to do this 2 months ago, but we had that snowstorm. And Twisted Vine is a great place, and I want to get down here. Mike's a great owner down here. He's good for city. And
it's haunted, Mayor. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I did.
Yeah, this place is haunted. So.
I
Hopefully you have a gun on you. I don't know.
Nope,
you can't shoot a ghost anyway, I guess. But, he was saying it was haunted. So, last week you had your first State of the City address, which was, I don't remember that ever happening in Derby before, but I may be wrong. So why did you feel the need to do that? Why did you think a State of the City is something
when I was reading,
to hear?
In the charter it said the mayor has to come up with a State of the City address. I'm pretty sure it said something in there. And, I heard a lot of naysayers saying my administration is stagnant, nothing's going on. So I brought my staff in. We sat down. I go, give me 15 minutes and figure out what's going on. But after 45 minutes to an hour, we're like, oh, my God, we did a lot. We did do a lot. And a lot of the people in the city wanted to hear this, like, what are you doing? So now we put it out there, and now they read it, and which is good because now they know we weren't sitting still.
And it's interesting because you even said, I don't know if this was during your State of the City or it might have been on an alderman meeting, like the Route 34 widening project. One thing you guys have said you want to get away from is sort of giving a date. Oh, yeah, it's going to happen on this date, because that's how it's like the mayor killer. Once you put a date to it, because the state is so nebulous in what they're doing. Am I right? Is that sort of the philosophy?
You're
it's almost like these things are done in little tiny phases.
You're absolutely right. And it's like these other 3 buildings are going to be coming down.
And that's happening. They pulled the demo permits.
So
Aloha Tile at Factory Street there, and the former religious place. Yeah,
Friendly's Cafe and all that. So those are coming down now. And, we talk to the state, and, they give us timelines. You go by what you can with it, but stuff is happening. We're not sitting still. We're having our meetings, and we're getting things moving forward. And I'm so psyched about this. I love this city, and I just want to keep it moving forward.
Oh, yeah. You know what I had sort of asked you, but, the time has come. Are you running for re-election?
Definitely going to be announcing really soon.
That you are running?
Yes. So we'll make it official soon.
What's the worst part of the job? What don't you like about the job?
There's not really much I don't like about it. People are going to
talking to reporters.
No, I love it. Eugene, I met you before, and I don't even think we ever had a problem. I'm just like, listen, I like to put the information out there. I want everyone to know what's going on. And for a negative part of it, I don't see it. Because my negative part of it is like people get upset. But once I get a phone call and I tell these people, if I don't know what's broken, I cannot fix it. So I love this city. I love Derby. I love the state of Connecticut. I want to move forward. And I just have a great time doing this job. I mean, people are going to say that, oh, my God, I'm frustrated. And I've heard stories on the street. Don't believe it. If you hear something about it, call me, and I'll tell you the truth.
One thing I have noticed, I mean, you go to Board of Aldermen meetings now, there used to be like a tension you could touch in the air. The whole time, really, I've been covering Derby, there was always somebody on the Board of Aldermen either warring with each other or warring with the mayor. And I think, maybe I'm not supposed to give opinions, but a lot of times you see a city or a community get caught up in personal grudges. And it goes from being an issue that's debated to a personal fight between somebody because somebody's insulted somebody else's wife, and it comes down to that, and it sort of stops progress. I have noticed now I go to a Board of Aldermen meeting, there may be disagreements, but it's not what it was. Is that by design, or is it just like the personalities in the room in terms of you guys getting along while still disagreeing?
I mean, we will disagree, but my thing is I want the information out to the aldermen prior. So I don't want them to say, oh, my God, I heard X is going to happen. And they'll question one of our directors or. So I'm like, call me, and if you hear a rumor on the street, we can put that to sleep. And if you notice, they're not really talking to our directors or anybody, superintendent, stuff like that.
For 35 minutes,
right?
It used to go on. Yeah.
I'll squash that real quick. If you hear a story, something that's going on, no, absolutely, it's not true. All right, and then you're going to see it in your minutes. So, in my main thing, I want my corporate counsel I let the Democrats know, listen, this is what's going on. Here you go. The day before, a couple days before, we want to make sure they have all their information. And as you can see, it makes for an easier meeting because if you got a question, you can call me, or if it's that pressing, bring it up at the meeting. I got nothing to hide. Talk about a transparent administration. You see it right now. We have nothing to hide. I want to make things go forward, and I always bring the Democrats involved with what we're planning on doing. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's what we planned on doing. That's what I planned on doing.
For hundreds of years we've brought you the news. Printed the info, we gave you the clues. Owners' profits were always sky high. Changing market now threatens our lives. Post-literation, critical reading, dumbed down nation, signs of inbreeding. TV sucking ideas from our head. Public discourse justified dead. We'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. Our readers are in the opens each day. Online clickbait, a prurient way. It's free information here to stay. Not even hookers give it away. Advertising, metastasizing, newsroom shrinking, constant attrition. We'll ride the dinosaur. We'll ride the dinosaur. Dinosaur. Deadlines, bylines, pictures too. An editorial comment for $1 or $2. the block, the murder next door. And now we wonder what it's all for. Social media coming free to you, funny pages, the mayor's wages, criminal seats, corruption schemes, ink state wretches asking tough questions. Well, ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur. The presses are running all through the night. We're printing the truth with all of our might. We're platform agnostics, got that interweb too. Buy an ad, see what we can do. We still have subscribers, still have our fans. We're here every day, so give us a chance and we're making our stand. Just hold us in your hand, and we'll ride the dinosaur. Yeah, ride the dinosaur.